Hello, I'm Annette Young and Happy New Year and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, we take a look at how India is divided over a Supreme Court ruling which lifted a ban on women entering a Hindu shrine, resulting in angry protests. Also, mobile technology is fast becoming a vital tool in developing nations, but what happens when you need to reach out to young girls who don't have access to smartphones? We'll be talking to Kecia Bertermann, who works for the non-profit Girl Effect. Plus, we meet Pascaline Lepeltier, the first woman to be named as France's best sommelier. But we begin in the Indian state of Kerala, which has become a flashpoint for women's rights. Clashes have broken out at a prominent Hindu shrine after two women entered the temple. This following a Supreme Court ruling last September that lifted a ban on women of a menstruating age to pray at the location. Those who want the ban reinstated say it's needed to protect their deity, but others are supporting the right of women to pray at the temple as part of an ongoing push for equality in the country.
A historic day for women's rights in India. This smartphone footage shows the first women ever to enter the Sabarimala temple. A police escort surrounds them for their protection. Their act of defiance was meticulously planned. Bindu Amini and Kanaka Durga had first tried to enter the temple on December 24th, but were pushed back by protesters. They tried again in total secrecy on January 2nd and succeeded. In interviews with the local media, they described the experience as a dream come true.
Since the floodgate is open now, we feel more women will offer prayers at the temple. It is our right. The highest court has given us the green light. We're under police protection now.
The women were forced to go into hiding after violent protests broke out across the region. Women between the ages of 10 and 50 are banned from the temple. The shrine honours the Hindu god Lord Ayappa. The deity is considered celibate, so women of menstrual age are not allowed to enter what is seen as his spiritual home. In September, India's Supreme Court provoked fury with its decision to revoke the ban. But a protest on January 1st supporting the measure brought together as many as 5 million women, forming a human chain stretching more than 600 kilometres.
We don't want to walk back, we want to walk ahead, and we want gender equality and gender justice.
But if I am drawn towards a particular place to have a rendezvous with the God, who is going to prevent me? That should be the attitude.
The controversy has exposed the fault lines in Indian society. Even some women are protesting against their newfound rights, rights that they say they don't want. Women who want the ban lifted have been criticised for being elite, representing a cosmopolitan worldview that's out of touch with the lives of ordinary women in Kerala. Feminists see it as the latest battle won in a long war against gender inequality. But it's not yet won. On January 22nd, the Supreme Court will hear petitions asking it to go back on its ruling.
Now, we've often talked on this show about the impact of the digital revolution on women. In regions with limited infrastructure, mobile technology is becoming a vital tool in providing information. Yet how do you make sure that girls, particularly those in developing countries, are able to even access a mobile phone? To begin with, Girl Effect, a non-profit, is working to empower girls via mobile technology. Kecia Bertermann is Girl Effect's Director of Digital Research and Learning and joins me in the studio today. Thank you so much for coming in, Kecia. Now, your own research shows that boys are 1.5 times more likely than girls to own a phone and 1.8 times more likely to own a smartphone. So from the very outset, young girls are at a disadvantage when it comes to accessing mobile technology, aren't they?
Exactly, yeah. So we carried out this research across 25 countries in the world because we were very interested in this question of how are girls actually using mobile phones and how are they accessing it. And so in partnership with the Vodafone Foundation, we talked with many young girls and boys around the world. And we found that there is access, but the access does look a lot different than what we might think it does. So while, as you said, a boy owns a phone much more than a girl does, girls are borrowing phones, so they do have some access, but it's in a very intermittent type of way.
Did it differ in various parts of the world?
It did. So we did see in some countries there's quite equitable access, and the countries of Indonesia, South Africa come to mind there. But there are other countries like Bangladesh and India where it looks quite a bit different.
This particularly, as you say, happens in conservative societies where it's seen as being very okay to give a boy an access to a smartphone, but not the case for young girls. So why is that the situation?
So underlying this is a really significant barrier, which we call social barriers. And so we know that girls have less access than boys do, and this is often because the gatekeepers in their lives, the parents, the other boys, other people in the community might think that it's not okay for a girl to have access to a phone.
But why is it not okay?
Because they're afraid that it's going to put a girl at risk. And they're afraid that if she does have a phone in her hand, she might become pregnant. And girls are often internalizing these fears themselves, and so they often have a fear about accessing mobile in turn.
So it's all about control, isn't it?
There's quite a bit about control. And this is also something that's related to just how girls reach the age of puberty worldwide. And we see that in many aspects of their lives, when a girl reaches puberty, unlike a boy, his world expands, he has more freedoms. But often a girl, when she reaches puberty, her world shrinks, and we're seeing this in the mobile technology as well.
So, Kecia, how do you break down these attitudes?
We have to work together. We have to work with men and boys. We have to work across communities. We have to help people realize that when a girl has less access to a mobile phone in her hands, she's falling behind. So while a boy in a community will be using a phone for banking, he'll be using it to get information, he'll be using it for social connection. If a girl doesn't have opportunity, if she doesn't have the opportunity to really practice in her daily life, she's going to fall behind. And we're at the very beginning of this digital revolution, and already we're seeing this divide.
So with this in mind, how do you successfully use digital platforms to get messages across? And do you have any examples of where that's actually worked?
At Girl Effect, we do have a mobile platform called Springster, and it reaches about 1 million people monthly around the world, and it's aimed at teenage girls, and it's delivered with content that's created by girls themselves, and it's delivered in really girl-friendly language. You have to remember that it's not just information, it's also about making it appealing to girls as well.
So how do you do that?
So you involve girls from the very outset, and you make sure that girls are involved in thinking about what are the topics that are really interesting to girls. How do you make that into a piece of information that's going to capture her attention and really change her attitudes in her mind about something that's important to her? You meet girls where they are in platforms that they're already using. So for instance, on Springster, we had a campaign around increasing girls' knowledge about menstrual hygiene. This is a topic that's really sensitive, and often girls are very, very nervous about asking about it in their everyday lives. But if they can go online, they can ask questions. And we saw when we published articles about menstrual hygiene, hundreds and hundreds of girls would reply and comment and provide support to each other as well in learning tips and tricks and how to take care of their menstrual hygiene issues.
So the message getting out there is that you're not alone.
You're not alone. You have other people to support you, and it's something that's common in everyday experience.
Yet the development sector has been very slow to use digital products to get their message across, haven't they?
We need to recognize that this is a really, really powerful way to reach people, and this is also a way that we can reach them in mass and at scale in ways that we haven't been able to before. But we need to keep in mind that it's not just the person who has a phone in their hand all the time. Let's think about the people who sometimes have access, who occasionally have access. How do we design for them and make sure that they're getting the information they need as well?
Kecia Bertermann, it's been great speaking to you. Thank you so much. And finally, for somebody who was studying philosophy, Pascaline Lepeltier has never looked back since deciding to switch careers and become a sommelier instead. Her talent and dedication has definitely paid off. She recently won 2 of the country's top awards, including the first woman to be named as France's best sommelier. Marios Sophos has the story.
10 years ago, Pascaline Lepeltier swapped the vineyards of Bourgogne for the mean streets of New York, the path which last year led her to being crowned France's best sommelier.
Madame Pascaline Lepelletier.
I'm here because it's the most important city in the world for wine. And New York is a beating heart that supports and maintains winemaking culture and wine regions.
A city where practically all the wines of the world can be tasted, where the trends are set, and where some of the most dedicated wine cellars can be found. Pascaline trained here with a friend and well-respected wine expert who specialises in wines from the Loire Valley.
I was tasting about 50 wines a day. Wine, spirits, sake, everything. It's like sport. It's normal. It's our job to have a very precise palate.
In the evening, she works in this Manhattan restaurant where she organises dinners for some of New York's more enlightened amateur gastronomes.
Madame, are you ready?
Dinners like this one, accompanied perfectly by wines from the Rhone Valley.
We're serving a lasagna that we've made with different types of game meat, mainly deer. We've gently browned it and cooked it with Comté cheese. Then it's finished off with white truffle. The tomato in the lasagna works with the 2017 bottle, whereas the truffle goes with the 2000. The mix of the three should be amazing.
Lepelletier worked very hard to get to this point. She was on her way to becoming a philosophy professor, then a revelation. She tried a bottle of 1937 Chateau d'Yquem at a wedding, and the rest is history. When first looking to train as a sommelier, she was told she was overqualified. Breaking into this male-dominated world, she was confronted by the prejudices of top restaurants.
When I first wanted to become a sommelier, a woman who interviewed me for the job said she thought I was too changeable and that it wasn't for me. In the end, it was a man who opened the door, Chef Jacques Torel, who trusted me.
France's best sommelier will continue her work with this restaurant, opened by a French former telecom engineer, here in New York, where just about anything seems possible.
And wonderful to see. And that's it for now. You can also connect with us via our Facebook page, that of course being France24.51%, or do send us a tweet at _51%. So until our next show, bye for now.